So what's the immediate cause of World War I? Well, it begins in this region of Bosnia, which is controlled by the Austro-Hungarians in the Balkans. So as we've been discussing this Eastern question, this is where it's going to begin. People believe it's going to be the Third Balkan War when the conflict arises. The conflict begins in June 28, 1914. Archduke Francis Ferdinand, sometimes known as Franz Ferdinand, is the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, to the empire. And he was in Bosnia, a region controlled by Austro-Hungary, annexed by Austro-Hungary. He was there in a military parade, in a demonstration of the emperor's power in many ways. And he was in the city of Sarajevo on June 28th with his wife Sophie, and they were in a open car, and it looks like a very large carriage, almost that kind of style, very large wheels, very large car. And in the middle of this parade, they are attacked by radicals in the crowd, and in the process of trying to get away from this first attack, they turned down an alleyway that was too narrow for this large car, and a teenager, a member of the original attackers, Gavrilo Princip, finds himself an opportunity to shoot at the Archduke directly. And this teenager hops on the car and he takes a shot. The first one misses and hits the wife, hits Sophie, and the second one hits Francis Ferdinand, and he dies. Gavrilo Princip is able to run from the scene. They eventually catch him, and he ends up dying in a prison of tuberculosis many years later. Who was Gavrilo Princip? He was this young man who was part of a secret Serbian society known as the Black Hand. The Black Hand was a group that was intent on expanding Serbia into the Balkans. So a greater Serbia was their intentions, and the first place that they intended to do this was in Bosnia. They thought this was a place they could free their Slavic brothers from the Austro-Hungarian rule. And this particular group was this extreme radical group. It has no connections, or had no connections with the Serbian government. However, when the attack occurs, they're going to need, or the Austro-Hungarian government is going to look for someone to blame, and they're going to use this as a pretense to attack Serbia. So when Serbia denies involvement in what happened, the Austro-Hungarians send an ultimatum to Serbia saying you must follow a list of demands, and one of the demands basically in many ways would give sovereignty of Austro-Hungary over Serbia, and of course Serbia declines this ultimatum, and it's going to lead to war. However, it sets off a set of geopolitical interests that was much larger than either the Austro-Hungarians or the Serbians would have realized. Serbia was in a alliance really with Russia. Russia and Serbia always had ties because of the Serbian Orthodox Church was closely related to the Russian Orthodox Church. These Serbians wrote in Cyrillic letters like the Russians, and so there's this pan-Slavic kind of movement in the area, and so Russia is going to be seen as a natural protector to Serbia, and Austro-Hungary is looking for backing, world backing in this endeavor against Serbia, and they want to have the support of the major power of Central Europe at the time period, and that's Germany. And they had an alliance already with Germany, and when this is about to begin, they turn to Germany and ask if they will be given support, and Germany gives that support. So suddenly it sucks in other large empires into this conflict. When these other empires join in or give their assent to be part of this, it sets off a European-wide interest in the event. And the way that begins is in terms of military strategy and military planning. Germany was always fearful that if there was a two-front war, a war on its western borders with France and a war on its eastern borders with Russia, they'd be crushed. So prior to this incident, they had made plans, military strategy, to deal with a two-front war. And the plans are made by General Schlieffen. And Schlieffen had said that if there was a two-front war, the only way Germany could survive is by a preemptive strike against France and a quick strike towards Paris. And they would believe that Paris would then capitulate, and then they could turn their attention to Russia. And the Schlieffen Plan relied on the strategy of using the railroads and railroad timetables and schedules to make such a quick attack on France. And this is the first time we're going to see the use of transportation, in terms of mechanized transportation, used in this way, and even in this military type of strategy. And much of this plan was based on the last time Germany and France had fought. And that's in the Franco-Prussian War of 1870 to 1871, in which Germany won, in which Germany showed for the first time to the European powers that it was a major power, and it just defeated the major power of the continent, France, at least in Western Europe. So the plan would be, Schlieffen's plan was to quickly invade Belgium and kind of sweep around into Paris. So they'd head very far west and then make a quick turn east towards Paris. And this is what they did, generally what they did in the Franco-Prussian War, and Paris fell very quickly and Germany reached favorable terms against France. So when this incident happened in the Balkans, the Schlieffen Plan basically is going to come into effect because of Germany's fears of encirclement. And so what the plan of, basically June 28th, the assassination occurs, the ultimatum is sent quickly after that, and by early August, Russia begins to mobilize towards the borders, and this sends Germany into a panic. And when that occurs, they feel they have to put this Schlieffen Plan into effect. Therefore, instead of attacking Russia, which is mobilizing towards them on their eastern borders, they feel they have to attack Russia's ally, France. Russia was allied with France and Britain, and Germany, Austria, and Austro-Hungary were allied with Italy. Italy is going to drop out of that alliance very quickly. So on August the 1st, Germany heads towards France. So this little incident in the Balkans where there's an assassination, there's going to be a war between Austro-Hungary and Serbia. Suddenly the whole continent is going to erupt in a different type of war. And when Germany invades through Belgium, Britain feels compelled, or at least justifies their intervention into this war in the name of poor Belgium. Because Britain and Belgium had an alliance that if Belgium was ever attacked, that Britain would defend this small nation of Europe. So World War I begins with an assassination, that's the immediate cause, but there's long-term causes involved in this, dealing with these military alliances that are maneuvering for geopolitical interests in this declining Ottoman Empire. Germany attacks France. A few days later, it declares war against Russia as well on August the 3rd. And suddenly Germany is fighting on two fronts and hoping it's going to end very quickly in the West.